Wednesday nights for supper, prayer time, and Bible study.
Oh, wow.
So I get kind of a double whammy.
Hello.
Hi. And when I get a double whammy of good compliments about my sitting in my usual
That's all
chair,
you need to hear, huh?
it's very interesting to me. Makes me feel like I'm somebody.
You're famous.
Huh?
You're famous.
Well, it makes me feel like I'm somebody and not a nothing. Because one time I began to wonder if I was just a nothing until Monty Walford invited me to start coming.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Monty Walford who invited me. That's how I got to meet.
Coming ever since, huh?
Yeah, Ron Webb and Joyce Bowman and a lot of others.
So how long do these usually last?
Oh, I'd say about maybe an hour or maybe an hour and a half.
Okay, I put
But
2 hours in my parking things.
but if it takes more than that, then I'll know that I have to disappear and catch the bus to get home.
I was just making sure I put enough money in my parking.
But one of my own church members just said, "Why do you pick the same chair?" Because I can.
That's right.
Yeah, what he doesn't understand though is I like being on TV. And that time that they talked about that building, Jacqueline. Well, here's something that's interesting that happened. After I got interviewed, I get home and see myself on television about 6 and 10, jumped up and down laughing the
Oh.
at myself on TV. I called one of my friends in New Orleans and told him I saw me on TV. He said, "Well, Sandy, what were you doing?" And I told him I was interviewed about the building that the police are in that they need to get moved out because of the mold and mildew. I said I was interviewed live, and then I told him that after I see myself on television, I jumped up and down laughing, almost bumped into the TV, and I said, "Sorry, Marianne."
Oh, you're so, oh my goodness.
And he laughed hysterically.
I know
He said, "You called the TV Marianne?"
Why Mary Ann? From
Well,
Gilligan's Island?
Gilligan's Island, that's it. Yeah, when Eva Grubb bumped into the professors, she said, "Sorry, Marianne." I thought that was hilarious.
I used to love that show.
Yeah, but for her to mistake the professor for Marianne, my gosh. That was funny. Sorry, Marianne. And my friend figured out it was Gilligan's Island. He said, "Sammy, you're something else." And I said, "What?" And he said, "No, you don't understand. You're something else." And I said, "Well, what about unpredictable?" He said, "That too." And I asked him, I said, is there an award for unpredictable? He said, "I don't know, but if there is, they'll get you one." So, Jacqueline, if there is an award for unpredictable, I deserve it.
Exactly. I'm going to give it to you.
That I'd like to see. If and when you do. Maybe it'll happen. That'd be interesting.
all I do all day now. It's just meat. Meat, meat, meat.
I got 6 today, and that's a couple over my quarter. That's all right.
Hello.
You haven't replaced the lady who left?
No, probably not.
Would you like to come to work?
You wouldn't want.
I don't know if I can get you. I don't know if I can get you through.
That's probably good. I wouldn't mind 20 hours a week. How are you, sir? How's everything?
Very good, how you doing? Good. How would I know?
It's not the hours, it's when they want them.
Sir?
It's not the hours, it's when they want them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you like yesterday. Yeah.
Lunch at work.
I mean, you gave him donations.
Well, we go tomorrow, we can't do lunch.
Took a while for this.
That's right.
So, but we'll figure something out.
I mean, if it was,
So let's see, we cut tree, we cut a couple of.
well, no,
Tree
insurance,
down on
you
the
know,
left.
say, a month like that, you know, like, what's the fiscal year, what's the 2 year versus the 1 year, but it was unique like that, and you know that it's gonna be,
The Magnolia is the last
no,
one.
it's gonna be very, very detailed, very well written.
We alone
Was
with
that?
you hear? I thought it started at 1 o'clock. Well, that's what I thought too. Just rushed out of me to get here on time.
But that doesn't do me any good, you can walk up here, you walk around the streets, because it's a nice day.
And James, the one thing I forgot to tell you was the reason they got put off the bus is one of them said to the other, "Wait till we get off the bus," and the driver said, "You're already off. Get off."
Okay.
Then they told him, "You get off."
That started the fight.
And that's how it started. And then when they got off, things just escalated. Where the police had to come over there. And believe me, James, stupidity gets nowhere. Hello, Tab. I'm all right. Because I know where I like to sit. And one of my friends asked me the other day at church, "Why do you pick the same chair?" And I said, "Because I can." And the other reason is I like being on TV, and he knows it for a fact. Huh? Well, people at Springs of Grace Baptist Church, where I'm a member, and First Baptist Church in Shreveport, where I eat on Wednesday nights for supper, they know. I might. Well, I was just sick at the time. That's why they said if I didn't, I might get sicker, so I had to do that.
Tabitha, I'm Gwen Brunke. I get to meet you in person now instead of texting.
I know it, right.
Calling you. And I really appreciate your response.
You're
when you do
welcome.
it.
How you been doing?
Good, good.
It's like I like to meet people in person.
I know, I do too.
It is good to meet you.
It's good to meet you. No, I want to. If I'm gonna complain about it, I'm gonna just do what I can do.
Well, Gwen, now you can see how much fun I have getting to meet the counselors.
Oh, yeah.
And I've come here ever since Bonnie bought me first. And I even got to meet more folks.
How are you?
And she laughed and she said, Well, he did. Get him off with a frying pan.
With a frying pan.
Yeah, she hit him with a frying pan.
Oh my
She gave
goodness.
her a frying pan and said for her to use it. She did. I believe it.
Yeah, he did get what he deserved then. What's, do I have to sign it? No. Don't nobody care if I'm here. It's not like this. That's what it said. It said phone, email address. That's what it said.
I know where to find you. Way down number 10.
Because that's what place I come in. 10. It's,
Hey, Andy, you know what's so funny? If I can't say hello, I'll wave hello. Because like over at First Baptist Church in Shreveport one Wednesday night when Joyce English was talking, I was not going to interrupt. So I went like this. She was like, it worked out. And like one Sunday after I was at my church, I got to First Baptist and they were having lunch. So I waved at Joyce and Horace English like, and they just waved right back. And Anthony, I walked one time that evening or that day, I walked by with a big old tree just walking on by, and Joyce said to Horace, "What thing have you got?" He said, "I don't know." Little did they know the reason was being in the Lord's house makes me happy. Yep. I'll tell you one thing: if you ever pop over at Springs of Grace on a Sunday morning and I see you, I'm not going to faint. No. I'll be
Hey.
very happy, but I'm not going to faint. Not that I wouldn't want to. So if you and Wayne ever pop over to Springs of Grace on
Good
Sunday-
afternoon, everybody. As soon as the chairman arrives, we'll get started.
So the sheriff's gonna build a substation?
Right out there in the corner. I'm in the corner. Yeah, it's out in the corner. Oh, I have one, but maybe I forgot to keep one. I got it down. I couldn't say what I was waiting on.
What's up, Chef? They did? I'm gonna play some basketball. We get out of here.
Gross.
No, we don't have to drive up my way. We just gonna get some,
Watch it.
well, we may not have to go. She said she got something up first.
Once a pig, always a pig. Yeah, once a pig, always a pig. Wayne,
Okay, Gwen Brunke.
Wayne, when you said Gus, that fits Jim Kramer on Mad Money. Well, that fits Jim Kramer from Mad Money too.
Yes, sir. Is he in the deck?
See if you can park his car for me.
Where? Where is he? Is he outside?
He been pulling in for about 15 minutes.
Okay. Circle.
Man, we was about to
Did you get a big old car or something? Did you get a big old car or something?
Oh, do we need to wait on Jim? He's not? Okay. Like to call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting. Excuse me for being a few minutes late. Opening comments, I really don't have any. We have some questions for Chief Smith and for Shelley Regal and probably the administration. The entire agenda is pretty much the status of police headquarters and substations. So, do you have any?
Public comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any public comments? Hey, Sammy.
Hello. Yes, I do. I wish that something would get done about people who were zigzagging around the crossing gates, because just the other day, oh, sorry. The other day, I was out having lunch with a couple of friends of mine, and after we were done, I had gone on to get ready to catch the bus, and there was a train that was coming, and these crossing gates came down, and two people zigzagged through the crossing gates. And I wish they'd find a way to get cameras out there at the crossing gates to catch these people in action so they could be ticketed for breaking the law.
Where is that, Sammy?
Well, I was over on Bert Coons Industrial Loop, coming out of the Bert Coons Industrial Loop Whataburger. And I've seen people do this before. One of my friends over at West 62nd and Mansfield Road one day, he told me that recently that what he did was he had the right of way to go, and that these crossing gates had just come down, and that two people zigzagged around those crossing gates and almost made him have a wreck. And he was disgusted about it when he told me at church about it. And I gave him my word that I would speak up and say something today about it, that these railroad crossings with the crossing gates, they need some kind of cameras to catch these people breaking the law and getting by with what they think they are, because the police can't be around there all the time. And
Okay.
something has to be done.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not sure, Mr. Dart, I'm not sure would that be something to address to the railroads? Can we put cameras at a railroad crossing?
I don't know that they'd stop us. We couldn't put them on their equipment. You couldn't put them on the crossing bar or anything like that.
Right.
We have to put it somewhere else because they're not gonna let you touch the stuff. But other than that, that's it.
Okay.
It was just an idea.
That's not a bad idea.
Any other public comments?
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Gwen Brunke. I live at 5661 South Lake Shore Drive in Shreveport. Some of you, especially the chief, probably already knows why I'm here. At Ford Park on Sunday afternoons has really gotten out of hand. I live probably a mile from there and can't even sit on my back porch. It is so loud. And the vehicles and the public safety are really my concern, because a friend of mine was coming about 6 o'clock. I'm not sure what time the park closes, but at South Lakeshore and Lakeshore, there was about 20 cars that just zoomed by, never stopped at a stop sign. I don't want to see someone get killed there. So I guess I have two public concerns: the noise, and I'm a live and let live person. I'm not talking about a little bit. Tabitha can tell you, I texted her like 2 weeks ago when it happened. It happened again this Sunday. It's those three-wheel vehicles that I'm not even sure if they're legal or not. And they are zooming down the road. And it's so loud that you can't even hear yourself think. And like I say, they don't obey stop signs. Right there at Otto's, one of our public little gas stations there. I'm talking about that stop sign there at Lakeshore and South Lakeshore. And just our road. I live like across the street from where the Cross Lake Apartments are. And it's just, me and my husband were coming home from my little grandson's birthday party Sunday. And I needed to go to Home Depot, but I wouldn't because I usually come home that back way. And I was afraid to. I said, no, it's 6 o'clock. They're going to be out there. I mean, you're really afraid for your life to get in your car on that road on Sunday afternoon. And that shouldn't be right.
Ms. Gwen, we actually addressed this. I spoke about this on yesterday to the chief, and he can speak as well to this, is that they will be setting up an operation in that area. Because I have expressed all of your concerns as well as mine. Right. I sat on that parking lot Sunday before last for about an hour at Cross Lake Bayou and could see the three-wheel illegal vehicles that are driving up and down the street, and then the sheriff came out, and so then they dispersed from that area. But the concern that I also had was at Lakeshore and South Lakeshore, because as soon as they leave the park, they're gonna race up Lakeshore.
Yes.
Which I know that that's in the parish. They're gonna race there, turn around when they get to the top of the bridge, and then speed back down on the other side, coming right back at South Lakeshore and Lakeshore again. And so it's the destruction of public property, plus as loud as the music is, that our pictures vibrate on the walls,
Yes.
right there. And I don't want this happening in this community or any other community where you can't enjoy. I don't have a problem with people playing their music, but when you're playing your music that is so loud that I can hear it and literally I can make out the words, your music is exactly too loud, and when things begin to shake in the house. So we did discuss that on yesterday.
Thank you,
and
Tabitha.
this
You've been
is-
great about it,
Thank you.
and it's nice to meet you in person.
It's nice to meet you too.
Thank you.
Regina Bond. I live at 1724 Willow Point Drive. My concern is the blatant disregard for stop signs, the red lights. They act like they just simply do not exist at the intersection that Gwen was referring to. The road comes to a T. Possibly if we could get a blinking stop sign, maybe that would make them more aware. But that really is a problem of them, people not stopping. It's just crazy, scary right there. And on the Lakeshore Extension, where Curtis Lane and South Lakeshore right there, there's a light there, and they have they redid the light, and the air and the green light stays on a little bit longer, which is good. They spin out right there. There's black tire marks all the time where they just do not stop at the red light. They run the red light. It's very reckless right there. This morning around 10 a.m., my husband called and said, I was leaving the house. I went Curtis Lane. There is a 2-year-old in a diaper walking a little cart in the middle of the street. My husband pulled over, as did a couple of other concerned people. Had they been totally disregarding the red light, there could have been a fatality this morning. The police came out. I'm not exactly sure how they tracked down where the child belonged, but she was less than 2 years old and in diapers. The location where she was, just walking, they do not stop at that red light. They run it all the time. And I just wish there were cameras or something to stop the people from just not obeying the traffic laws. And thank you, Tabitha. She is amazing for our area. Thank you.
Thank you. The stop sign, Mr. Dark, I believe at Lakeshore and South Lakeshore, that is still an extension of the parish, because that stretch of road, time you cross over the 220 bridge, then you enter the parish. And so when you turn right, coming into our intersection, where the road meets from concrete to asphalt,
Yes.
the asphalt side is the parish, which is kind of crazy. So what I would do is that we can request that of Commissioner Gage, Watts, and Erica, and ask them about a blinking stop sign at that particular intersection. When I did speak to the sheriff in reference to that, he also spoke about them increasing patrols in that area, because I did share with him that concern as well. Curtis Lane and South Lakeshore and Lakeshore all the way up to Greenwood Road is another intersection that we talked about as well. I know exactly what you're saying, because they will get right there, run the red light, spin profusely in that corner, and then head to Greenwood Road, to Curtis Lane to Greenwood Road, come back this way, spin around at Greenwood Road and Curtis Lane, come back down Curtis Lane, and then just hightail right down Lake Shore again. Sometimes they stopped a little bit of coming into South Lake Shore because there was a camera right there. And so once we caught somebody drag racing, the next morning, the sheriff paid them a visit to the door and they got arrested for going in and destroying public property. So I guess they got a little whiff about that camera right there. But I think license plate readers in that particular section is warranted as well, and it will probably help us curtail a number of those things that are going on. So again, the chief can reiterate the concerns that we have in setting up an operation in that area. There will probably be a joint operation between the city as well as the parish.
Thank you.
Since it's twofold.
There is an ongoing problem with the drag racing. My
Yes.
father, who's 80 years old,
Mhm.
a couple of years ago, he was in an accident.
Yes.
He was leaving my house and he got on the Lakeshore Extension. It totaled the other person's truck. It completely spun him around, and the kid just was young and dumb. And he said, "We were drag racing."
Right.
So it's very scary. Thank goodness nobody's been killed yet.
Yes.
That's my
Correct.
concern.
Correct. What you have on that extension, and it's probably what you all have never seen, it is a complete operation. I don't know if you would hear it. It would start about 11 o'clock at night,
Yes,
10 or 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday. They actually have flares, flagger, and everything, everybody lined up from St. Matthias all the way up, and all of them lined up on Lakeshore Drive, ready to drag race. And it was insane. When I drove up I was scared out of my wits, like, oh my God, you have a mass operation for this. And so we had a joint operation before with state police, SPD, the sheriff, and I think DeSoto Parish had brought in their helicopter that curtailed that part, but it moved to another part of the city. And that's my concern. It's like they're coming back to this location to start this all over again. So we want to actually circumvent that in the process.
Yes. And anything I can do as a citizen, I would be glad to assist.
I appreciate that.
Thank you,
You're
Tabitha.
welcome.
So
Thank
I have a question. Is this only on Sundays?
It's typically, yes.
Yes?
It's on Sundays. You may have some Saturday nights when they do this, but Sunday is the mass drag racing operation.
And the Ford Park, all together, is also Sundays?
Yes, and it's kind of weird for this time of year because you typically don't have this. We would catch it early or late spring going into the summer, but since it's been pretty, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to Ford Park. And so those illegal little motors, I've seen the ATVs, because you had to stop them from riding down the hill at the church on Lakeshore, coming into the park. And those, I don't know what you call those little mini bikes that they have, but it is a conglomerate of mini bikes, probably like 20 or 30 of them. And they then merge into the parking lot at Cross Lake Plaza, and then they veer off to the park on the lakeside.
So, Chief Smith, these scooters, I think is what I call them, is that kind of what you're referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Are they? I've seen them around downtown also late at night. They're definitely not a mini bike because they're very fast.
Correct.
Are they street legal?
Absolutely not. They're completely illegal to be driven or operated on the street. And when we catch one, we impound it. Just the thing is they seldom stop for us. And certainly we don't want, if you get thrown from one of those things going in excessive speed, you can imagine what the end results are going to be. But we do catch them when we can, and we take them throughout our city, our district. I tell you one in particular, especially Councilman Green's district. They come out at night and run the streets. But we do our best to catch them without, one
Having to pursue them.
Right.
having to pursue and run out in the street, get thrown off.
Because what I've noticed, I don't know how fast they go, but it seems like they're very fast.
They're very fast. And I too was once young, and generally what comes from the factory ain't never good enough. I want to be faster and better than somebody else, so they'll spend money into them to make them even faster and even more unsafe. Without helmets, of course.
Let me make sure that I include Yorborough in that as well, because starting from Pines and
Yes.
heading down Yorborough, sometimes on Diane and
Yes.
Sandra and
Yes.
Gordon Street,
Yes.
they will utilize those little mini bikes or whatever you
Scooters,
call
yeah.
them, to drive down the street extremely fast, causing a level of concern for that area as well. So I would ask for increased patrols there, or license plate reader in that area on Gordon Street at that Yorborough location, and at Yorborough and South Lake Shore. And just to ensure that they don't migrate at the pier, at the boat launch.
Yeah.
There where, you have that unmerited behavior. As I understand when people want to sit out and watch the lake, I do that myself. But it's a difference when you're migrating there and then causing that level of disruption for everybody else.
Yeah. I tell you, the lady just got up and asked, what could the public do to help us? 99% of the time, they're outside of their neighborhoods, and they'll bring them in either on trailers or in the back of pickup trucks and park somewhere in the neighborhood and unload and go do their business, come back. If you could just give us a call if you see anything unusual like that, someone pull up with a pickup truck and unload an ATV or a trailer and just leave it there beside the road, that would help us greatly, because eventually they got to come back to it. So please give us a call.
I think they're doing it, some of them are doing it at the church, at St.
At
Matthias.
the church.
So they're going on top of the hill and unloading right there, and then you will see this mass exodus of ATVs and those little scooters come down the hill.
So
Thank you
I
for
know
that.
we touched on this yesterday. Councilwoman Taylor brought this up about
Yes.
Ford Park.
Yes, sir.
If Sunday seems to be the main particular
It is.
day,
It is.
is there any way we can increase patrols or do something special on Sunday as far as extra officers?
We will. At the beginning of the summer, we anticipate it every year. It's almost the same thing. And, in our funding, in our budget, we budget for special operations for the entire summer. And this is included in that. And we have been doing it off and on throughout the summer. And we're going to get back strong out there. We've already discussed it and talked about it. We're going to get back strong in that area. And you're exactly right. We chase them around town. Generally, we've hired back 5 or 6 officers specifically for that. And you chase them around town. When we come to Ford Park, they leave there and go to Greenwood and Jewel or Mansfield and Hearn Avenue. It's a chasing game. But we're going to get on it this weekend, absolutely.
Councilman Green?
Yes, Chief, do you all have anything fast enough to catch those scooters? Because they faster than a car.
Y'all need a scooter?
It's way too dangerous. It's a dangerous game that they are playing, and I definitely would not ask an officer to get outside, of what safety an automobile has and chase someone. But yes, we do have things that are faster than them, but we have to keep in mind our safety and the safety of innocent bystanders.
So my question then is that if they are illegal to
Yes.
be on the street,
Yes.
when we see them in the park, are those individuals ticketed? Or if we see them migrating on Cross Lake Plaza and you see them on the vehicle, which they're going to have to leave that parking lot and get out on the street because their destination for where they load and unload is not there. So they're going to have to get on the public roadway some type of way. They had to enter into the park. They got to exit outside the park. That if we see them in there, what can be done while we see them on the illegal vehicle? Well,
Well,
whatever it's
technically is I guess the escape route where the law leaves us kind of handicapped. We can only intervene when we've witnessed a violation or a violation has actually occurred. And I think the law specifically says it's illegal for them to be operated on the public street. So by them just having them in a trailer or in the back of a pickup truck, that wouldn't be against the law. And the same way I believe in the park, they cannot operate them in the park, but I don't know of no law that says they can't have it in a truck or a trailer.
Yeah,
in
I'm
the
not
park.
worried about
When
the
you take it off of that
Yeah,
truck
when you
and
take it off I'm
get it
talking
out
about when they're off.
in the park,
In the
then
park.
that's different. That
Yes.
is totally different. Then they violated the law.
That's what I'm speaking of.
Because I think I'm right, Shirley. They can't operate an ATV in any of the city designated parks.
Yes, because you have ATVs as well as those.
Right.
Right. When I saw them, they were coming off of Yarborough. They came into Cross Lake Plaza, into that strip. So there where those business owners have the no trespassing signs on their property. And so they migrated right there. So they're coming off that public roadway. That's the question that I'm asking.
Yes, ma'am. They're wrong all around there. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we can intervene and impound that vehicle. And we do take
Chief,
them.
these scooters, for lack of a better term, they don't have a license plate.
No, sir.
They're not registered.
No, sir.
Okay, so if they're on the ground at all, even in a parking lot, is that not illegal?
That's private property. It's got to be on public property.
Public property.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless the business owner calls.
If he calls, we can ask them to leave. Yes. But
unless
under another
unless
title,
they leave in a trailer, then if they leave on the scooter, then they're breaking the law.
Correct.
when you get out on the street, that's
Right.
exactly right. On that private property under 14100, careless and reckless, DWI things that come under RS 1400 we can enforce on private property with a vehicle. And that is the careless and reckless, DWI, and a few things of that nature. It don't matter. Like, for instance, if we observe them out there on a parking lot acting a fool doing donuts, it don't matter. Then they fall under another state statute, and we can enforce, arrest them or impound the vehicle.
Yeah.
But
So-
it has to be careless and reckless or things that come under
So
Title
what,
14.
what is happening in the park, Shelley, so you're aware of this, what is happening in the park is that when they drive into Ford Park on the lake side, and when they get to that little portion
Yes.
where the pier used to be, they sit there and they take their cars, and I guess they putting them in park, and they're spinning their wheels, and all you see is smoke,
That is CNR.
okay?
They own public property, yes.
So, right there, that's the showcase point. I'm gonna say that's
At the
strip.
launch
No, in the park,
in the park.
inside of the park.
Gotcha.
That's where it's happening. They're lined on both sides. And so right there is where the show begins.
Gotcha.
And so then you have a line of cars that's entering the park. You have children that's playing there, and they're spinning their wheels uncontrollably. And so if you pass by, all you're gonna see is a cloud of smoke. And any other time, you know, just like I do, that you can spin out. You know, you lose control of that vehicle.
Absolutely.
You're gonna have, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yes, ma'am.
The other part about that, when they're speaking of the loud music, that music is so loud. And so what I'm asking of the officers, because if we can hear it in our houses, then I know you can hear it up close. Ask them to turn their music down. Turn that music down, because we should not be able to hear
I agree.
your music where the pictures are vibrating on the wall. And so that's happening for those residents that live on Yarborough, as well as South Lake Shore and Diane Street and Parkwood.
Gotcha.
Yes, yes, and Mirador. You hear all of that music.
Okay, and we did, in fact, purchased a couple more. Chief White did noise meters for patrol to use, and we're aware, I think it's 50 feet or something like that from an automobile. But we have the equipment to work with, and we'll get on it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right?
Thank you. Any more public comments?
There was on Facebook, Tabitha, I'm sure you saw it, there was a picture of it. I mean, there's a film of it.
They have it. Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you could probably look on there
Mm-hmm.
for
Okay.
some,
Yes.
We will do. We'll do.
And I'm confused. So if I see them unloading their vehicles that are illegal, they're doing it I've seen them doing it at Ford Park Baptist Church. So you're telling me that's private property, and why would I call if you can't do anything on private property? I'm confused about that.
You're calling to alert us what could potentially happen. That's letting us know that people are coming to the area probably with the intent not to do the right thing, so send somebody on the way. So it's just an alert for us. We may not know.
right, and Sunday afternoon, usually like, Mr. Jackson, Dr. Jackson said, that would be a prime time, just to,
Yeah.
I can't imagine how many people you could arrest that day.
Ma'am,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Chief, I didn't, if you have any more comments, I need you to come back to the podium. Okay. Thank you. So at this point,
Thank you.
I'd like to move for approval of the October 8th, 2024 minutes of the Public Safety Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Tom. Thank you.
Okay, on to the agenda. Status of police headquarters and 3 substations. Chief Smith, I guess, Shelley, if you don't mind, you might as well come up also. I know Mr. Dark called me last week about some updates on one of the substations. Where are we as far as the headquarters goes? Have we made any progress in 2 weeks?
You're talking about on the design of the new headquarters?
I'm
Or on
talking
moving
about
everybody?
moving the officers and what building are we going to replace? What are we going to build for them?
Okay, so as far as moving everyone, there has been a lot of progress made over the last probably 3 weeks. I think the mayor sent you
Talk
a
to the
letter.
mic. Get in front
I'm
of the
sorry.
mic. Move the chief.
Scoot
Move the
over.
chief over so the mic works.
We like each other, but not that much. No. So we have been working really hard to find places to relocate. Every day we're at some location, looking at whether it will work or not. We had a really good meeting yesterday with investigations. If you were to ask us who ought to move first, we would say anybody in the basement and on the 3rd floor. And so fortunately, investigations is in the basement, and so is traffic. So investigations, we think we have a,
You're referring to 1234 Texas
yes,
Street.
I
Okay.
think we
I'm
need
sorry.
to get
Go
out.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So getting them out of the basement's probably one of the dingiest places in the building. So we have found a location for investigations. Our IT staff is working really hard to figure out how quickly we believe that move can happen really fast. Within, I don't want to be optimistic, but maybe even 30 days. There's not a lot to move because they don't have, where they will be going will have furniture. It's already well equipped for all their equipment, their technology side of it. Telephones are going to be easy, those kinds of things. Traffic, which is moving to interstate, they did a walkthrough. They did their punch list, so it's substantially complete. So that will be the next, and IT's been working on that already, had been working on getting all their equipment. They are waiting for some equipment to come in, but that's another one that can happen really quick. The other location, the 3rd floor of the existing building, is another place where we're getting ready to move everyone out. They will be moving to a location that we already have, and that is a group that the chief can decide how much he wants to talk about that group because they have some special operations that go on the 3rd floor, but they will be moving out next. So it's the patrol and then administration and some forward-facing members of his staff that the public comes to. So I think he's moving COP. You may want to talk about that. an existing building that can happen quickly too.
Okay, I think you have probably the locations that we've identified as temporary locations. One being 6514 West Canal, which is Sunset Acres. We would be moving about 60 people to that location. The other location is 1120 South Point Parkway. That'll be for admin support.
Where is South Point Parkway?
That's on Shreve City off of Ninth Street.
Oh, okay.
Behind the Walmart.
Is Ninth Street a good place to move right now?
Only because you can get out on D Street. It's a cross street between D and Ninth, and they have an easy way to get out on D Street.
Without taking Ninth Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it'll be, almost a couple hundred people will be moved to that location, and that'll be the location where the public will come. We have generally about 200 to 300 members of the public that come to our building each week for various things, reports, ABO, fingerprint. So this is where they will come to do that. Other locations being proposed is 9194 Mansfield Road. That would temporarily house Area 2 and 4 patrol, and that's about 120 people that will be headed in that direction. 3312 North Market, that will house Area 1 patrol, and it'll be about 65 to 70 people will be headed in that direction. Mansfield Road and Kings Highway, as Shelley talked about, that is investigations, and that will house about 80 or so people. 430 Travis Street, just down the street from here, we'll be moving 24 people into that location. Be Interstate Drive, there'll be about 38 people going into that location. Another 26 going to another location, and about 6 that will be going to the city marshal's office, to their police academy, their training center, right behind where we are. And that should pretty much get everyone out of our building.
So is the goal to move everybody from 1234?
That is correct.
Texas?
That is the plan.
Okay.
Some of these
And
moves,
the map that I showed you up here, what she had.
Do y'all have a hard copy?
Ma'am?
Y'all have a hard copy?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It's the last page of the thing they're going to use to talk about during council meetings, the thick paper.
That map, what you see up
That's the
there,
last one of those back pages.
kind of explains it. The orange star is 1234 Texas Avenue. That is the current location that is going away. The blue star represent locations that are already established for permanent police substations. And the police car represents the locations that are proposed for temporary locations at this very time that we've identified and began to make progress to relocate to that area.
I do think you were asking, is our plan to move them all out? You know, some of these are going to be able to happen really fast. Some are going to take longer just because when you start talking about some of the things they have to move, you know, fingerprinting, the taping, all the things they have. So the timeline really began a few weeks ago and will probably take us to the first quarter of next year. We hope it's not long after that we're beginning to get ready to bid for the new police headquarters. And so some of this was gonna have to happen anyway, so it's just the speeding up of that process. But it is, they're all not gonna be out by the end of the year. So it is still staying on that timeline of building a new station and being prepared for that. We were gonna have to do that anyway.
So the new building, is the plan to demolish 1234 Texas?
What we have seen so far is a selective demolition, is so that you keep some parts of it and you build new parts too. And when we say keep new, one of the things, keep the old, one of the things that we have said is there's absolutely nothing that serves that building, no incoming water, no outgoing sewage, no electrical, none of that needs to be saved. So when we talked about selective demolition, we're only talking about some of the facade and some of the floors in the existing building that can be reused, which helps with the budget. But all the mechanical, all the electrical, all the services in and out, all of that has to be demoed because it's all
So
70 years old.
These locations that we just went over, South Point Parkway, 6514 West Canal, is that Sunset Acres School?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It is? Are these leases? Are we gonna be leasing these buildings?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll be leasing, the ones that are for patrol will be a shorter lease because the assumption is that they will be able to locate to a permanent substation sooner. The ones for investigation and admin / support, those will probably be 3 years.
And they would go back to 1234
Yes, sir.
Texas after it's rebuilt?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have leases that are not, we can sign a shorter lease than 3 years for the other?
That's what we asked for. And what we're trying to do is to sign a lease that is for a short period of time and then becomes month to month as we get closer to the
Right.
date. The likelihood, 3 of the 5 leases we're going to be negotiating are with the school board, Willis-Knighton, and BRF. Those will probably be relatively easy to do. The one with the CVS is probably a sublease from them. I don't know what their approval process takes. That may be the slowest of the 4, not because we're trying to do anything else, but because it just may take longer to get them to actually sign
Is
off.
9194
Yes, sir.
Mansfield Road is the CVS?
Yes, sir. But
And
it's
that, I'm
pretty,
assuming I don't go out that way much. That CVS is closed?
yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
I was out there this morning. It's like a little over 10,000 square feet, so it'll serve 2 patrol areas pretty easily. Got enough parking around it to accommodate their comings and goings.
So that's for area 2?
What, 2 and 4, I think?
2 and 4?
2 and 4 for the time being, yes.
What's area 2?
Yeah,
Ma'am?
What is area 2?
that's
consist of?
Highland and,
My area down to Gary's, it's like 20 to south of town,
That is correct.
River to I-49.
That is correct.
And what's area
I-49.
4?
Ma'am?
What's area 4?
Right where that is, pretty much the Southern Hills, South Freeport community.
So there's not a location in Cedar Grove?
That's the
Or
one,
that's
that is the
gonna
one,
serve-
that's one we're working on trying to find a location for as a permanent basis. We did not see a temporary location along Line Avenue, for instance, that worked
So-
out all that well, but
9194 Mansfield Road is definitely a temporary,
I
that's
believe
the plan, that it's a temporary location.
That's the plan as of right now.
There-
I think the chief would love to keep it, but we're a long way away from even thinking about that, so.
There is a request from, I want to say, Dr. Tanger for his building that is across from A.B. Palmer Park.
Talking about the
It's-
former nursing home?
Eden
or-
Gardens Nursing Home.
Yeah.
We had a
I-
couple of
I
others in
looked
mind
at-
along there, but that would be one we'd look at as well.
We looked at it and it is way below substandard. It would,
Okay.
I don't want to elaborate much on it, but
We have kissed a few toads in doing this search. The chief in particular has. But I think we've gotten places that we did not want to send anybody to a place where they'd go, ugh, the minute they walked in. That would kind of defeat the purpose at this point.
So the Red River Credit Union is completely out for Southeast Shreveport as purchasing it as a as a substation?
I don't think it's completely out. I just don't think it's the first choice right now.
Okay.
There's still a number of choices we're working on there, because now that we have money, we can go ahead and try to find a third site. And that actually started about the time we introduced the legislation to you to add that money.
That one is free.
Well, it may not be.
It
but,
may not be.
But the purchase prices, I mean, I know what I think we'll buy it, and it would be under what we've got budgeted if we wanted to buy it.
Yes, sir. Councilman Reed.
What's the update on the Monkhouse substation?
So it did go out for bid. We received the bids back. We have been waiting. He has had to get his bonding and get his contract back to us, and that contract should be routing right now, so that when we get that back, after it's been signed, we can give him the notice to proceed. And he was within budget. He's the same contractor who built Fire Station 17, so we have worked with him before, and he does really good work.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So you'll have that substation and you'll have traffic out there.
So to kind of summarize, the goal is shortly after the beginning of the new year, and I'm not going to pin you down to a day or a time, everybody will be out of 1234 Texas Street.
We are trying very hard to have everybody out by the first quarter, by the end of the first quarter. I don't want,
Right.
We're getting into that time of year where it's hard to even holiday scheduling with movers and then even our IT people, and just gets to be, but that is our goal, to have everybody out by the first quarter.
It's likely that the last group to move will be admin and support, because their move is more complicated. It's not just moving cars and patrolmen, which is a relatively simple move, or even investigators who are all kind of together. But when you have to deal with the state on the fingerprint machine, and you have to deal with legal requirements on how to move central records and keep chain of custody and all that, that's a little slower. I think the others will be, I'm hoping January on everybody but them, and then we're going to try to see how fast we can get them out.
And what floor are they on at 1234, admin?
Two.
Two?
Or is that one or two? I can't
We're on
remember.
2.
So,
The one where his
already at
office is
ground
mostly.
and one.
so what office would admin be in? Are they just gonna be in one location, or are they you gonna have some admin at the
We'll
various
all be at
locations?
1120 South Point.
1120
You're talking
is-
about
is
the
a-
current
is a-
building, or?
1120 is a low-rise complex of buildings. There's
He's
two or
actually
three
talking
of them.
about the current building.
We're about to start the space planning there to figure out exactly how much we're going to want to lease. And part of that's changed since we started talking, because Chief's been talking, he talked about moving the COP people out and some of that who were originally going to go to Southport. It's probably 2 of the 3 buildings, but the idea is put as many people together as you can and put the people who've got public contact on ground floors where it's easy to get in and out.
But you were asking about the current location, like where they're gonna be in the current building?
What floor are they on
Now.
currently
Right
at
now, they're currently
1234?
on 2.
And so, but you said the worst floor is the basement?
Yes.
The worst condition of 1234, okay. Who's in the basement now?
Investigations,
And
traffic.
And they'll be ready to they'll be moving shortly?
Traffic's going to interstate, which is very quick, and investigations may actually beat them to their new location. But those were the people we needed to address first, because
Right.
those have historically been the worst locations.
So those will be where the community is able to come and do their police reports?
No.
That'll be
Where will those people be?
Community would come to 1120 South Point. That's where Central Records, ABO, Vehicle for Hire, false alarms, all the places where the public would need to come on their own
That's kind of
will
far.
be there.
No, that's the one by Ninth Street.
Yeah, that's kind of far.
Oh,
Just saying, it's kind of far versus where you are when you talk about accessibility to bus lines and all of that right there. It's kind of far versus where they can go a little bit more centralized in that sense.
what's the long-term plan for admin?
It'll go back to 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, okay, right. So 1120 South Point is a lease,
Yes.
and that would be possibly up to 3 years, Mr. Dark?
Probably, and that's, one of the things you need to be aware of is that's right down the street from Social Security, which is clearly another place that is accessible. I don't know, but I'll have to ask De Niro. I assume we have bus service fairly near there just because of the Social Security office, but I'll ask. I mean, it's in the same block, so that's a major traffic barrier for the same, folks who are not
Yeah.
always mobile.
I know there's bus service on Shreveport
I
Barksdale.
think it goes down Night Street.
I don't know if it
too.
goes down Ninth Street or
Well,
not.
it might for the short term go down D Street just only because the the
It's
detour's so
5
bad.
point, yeah.
But either way, it's a few hundred feet from Ninth Street, maybe, 2 buildings in at the most from the Ninth Street side.
And
It's
what-
5.8 miles away from our current location.
Yeah, that's just my thought process of thinking that your all's main office would be probably somewhat even more situated closer to downtown in that area. That's just me when I'm thinking about that.
I didn't find anything that was available really any closer that would accommodate nearly a couple of hundred employees and their parking needs, plus the parking needs of 200 to 300, public people per week that visit there without, being extremely inconvenienced. A lot of the difficulty is the parking. It really, really is.
Who's going to be at the Biomed Center?
Ma'am,
Who's going to be at the Biomed Center?
on Kings Highway,
Yes, sir.
investigation, we're taking about 80 or so people there plus transportation.
So what about the Wildwood location? Are we
Who?
still having that location, Wildwood? Okay,
Special.
okay.
And the BRF people have been really good about working with us on the site for investigations, because investigations has to bring folks in sometimes that they'd really rather not bring through the lobby, and they have worked with us on a second entrance, things like that. They have been over backwards. Let's say, we were there yesterday afternoon about this time, and that one's gonna go almost as quickly as we can make it work.
Is this the BRF building?
It is the BRF building. It's one.
They're
it is one-
moving?
It is one wing of the BRF building, essentially.
Okay, but BRF's still gonna be there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're, somebody investigations is gonna be in Bill Joyce's old studio, so. that'll
One
be
of the
interesting.
questions I asked today too was about public access. One of the questions I asked the chief that I think is important for the public to know is that all those temporary substations, they can receive public there too. So if you're in. I'm sorry.
While she's getting there, one of the other things we will be doing is providing temporary signage at all these locations so that people will know where we are.
Not only wayfinding, but also marquee signage too, both. What we talked about, I was asking the chief, just so I would be sure I understood everything too, was that at each of the temporary substations, that those will also be open to the public. So if you're a public in one, like anybody that lives near Sunset, they can come there to access the police. So maybe that'll help with locations.
Locations.
And then they're not going to Ninth Street if they don't need to. There may be things they have to go there for,
Okay.
but they would have that ability.
Okay.
That's actually one of the things that will require a tiny bit of construction in almost all of these, is essentially providing a patrol desk, a place where someone will be able to come and they'd know, the public would know, okay, that's where I go
That's
within
good.
this building. Won't be a
Yes.
lot of interior work, but there'll be a little bit.
Right.
All of our facilities are designated as public safety zones. So all of them, our parking lots have to be well lit and have to be video recorded 24/7. So people that's in fear of anything at all can come to that parking lot, come and, exchange kids, whatever the case may be. So that's a piece that we have to work on also.
Chief, what building will fingerprinting and all of that be in?
1120 South Point.
Oh, okay.
They all work together. There's certain sections that have to be together because they all work together.
Correct.
Central Records, ABO, APHIS, Vehicle for Hire, all those people almost have to be arm in arm because they feed off each other. The fingerprinting, the APHIS machine that identify people, which equipment we don't own, the state have to come and move it around from place to place. So it was important that we find a place that had enough public parking to accommodate the public coming for whatever they need.
Okay.
And we think we found that on South Point.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Dart,
Yes, sir.
the money for these leases, that's not bond money.
No, sir. We're not going to use project money to do this. We don't have a exact number yet. I think the likelihood is first year is probably about $600,000 to do all this. Some of that is going to be, in effect, taken probably out of the SPAR budget because they won't be maintaining 1, 2, 3, 4 nearly as long into the year, and that will continue, during the couple of years of construction, which is the same time we're doing all these leases. So it's not going to be a big financial burden one way or the other.
So the maintenance on all these locations that the chief and Shelley just mentioned, are these triple net leases? Will the city be having to maintain?
We have not seen the draft leases, but the intention is that as little maintenance as possible be done by city folks.
Right.
We may very well end up picking up the trash, taking out the trash and sending somebody by to do restrooms and things like that. But like BRF, I think is going to do most of that there for us. That's one of the.
But as far as roof leaking or parking lot repair, that would be up to the landlord.
The owner, yes, sir.
Okay.
And the good news on the Sunset Acres one, it's the newest building out there. It clearly is a pre-engineered metal building they put brick over the top of, and it's, compared to the rest of the school, it's probably 30 or 40 or 50 years younger than what we would have had otherwise. And it's like it's an 8 classroom wing that they can basically use as they want there.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The location on North Market, what's the estimated time do you think from the lease that we're looking at that we would probably, Area 1 would be in that building?
As soon as Mr. Dar can negotiate the lease, and we do just some minor retrofitting and IT get in and do their part.
Okay.
So it could go relatively quick.
Okay.
What, like I said, I hate to ask you for a date. What does relatively quick mean?
It's relatively quick.
Is that 60 days?
60 days, 30
Right.
days?
Relatively
say
quick is
so.
hoping for by the end of the year and almost
Okay.
and almost screaming for January if it isn't. Hopefully sooner. I mean, I don't think it's going to take long for Willis Knight to give us a lease. As I appreciate it, what are you looking at? A wall and a door?
Yes.
And a few very other minor stuff. So, I mean, that's not a big deal in terms of all that.
So you're
Again, I
probably-
think those will go quicker than the CVS only because I think the lease will come back.
So you're probably looking at your Monkhouse location would be the first location that officers will be moved relatively quickly.
Investigations may actually.
Investigation can
Maybe.
even go quicker than that.
Investigations and traffic will go first.
We're doing some punch list items on interstate, but it's the possibility. We're gonna have a meeting, we hope on Thursday, with some final punch list items that we need to discuss doing there and the other location where our special units are. We had asked Mr. Dark to talk about that on Thursday, but we're trying to get those moving. Because like I said, we have walked the punch list, giving substantial completion on that building, so it should go relatively quickly. But honestly, investigations will probably be the first, the first to go.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, you talked about yesterday about your preliminary discussions with the people at North Shreveport Business Association. Have you all concluded, or are they willing to go in and make any changes to the stipulations in the deed?
I think they're willing to make changes that mostly is going to be handled by Mr. Edwards with my close oversight.
Okay. You'll let me know when? I said you'll let me know when?
I'll let you know as soon as possible. I'll absolutely be reporting back any developments as they come, and I'm encouraged by the status of the discussions as they are, and hopeful that we can get something that everybody can agree to.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So I actually have a question for you, Councilwoman Taylor. If these stipulations are removed, are you good with that location?
I still want to talk about that.
Okay.
Because the concern for me at that point is the money that has already been expended, and when we talk about construction with that and having to stay within that money because of what Attorney Basada said about that 5%. With the cost of construction and everything that we have there, that is a concern for me. And I also have another question as far as our ownership of that land. Is all of that land ours, or because in the recordings, it doesn't show some of that, where all of it is ours from North Market, from where Daisy a Day is, and that front caliber to North Market. That's not showing city ownership. And so I want to get clarity on that before there is a, yes, we want to move this right here. Those are the concerns for me. So I think, and going in and speaking with the project manager or the architect or whoever it is, not going over that threshold, that puts us in a very sticky situation right there. So I can't say that that's a permanent spot.
And we can certainly keep you updated on, we'll send you the bids we got for Interstate for that substation. We feel confident going into the bidding process for North Market that it would be in that same vicinity, so we can send you that information. And then I will ask the attorney that did the closing or did the filing of the deed, he didn't have to close anything, and get him to run a map that will show you all the property. Daisy for a Day and what North Market transferred to us are two different deeds too. They're not the same
I
deed.
actually like to see that deed and the appraisal report. The appraisal report.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Butcher.
It looks like and it may just be something that the tax assessor's not caught up with yet.
Right.
But there looks like that there is a triangular track in front of the Daisy a Day that still belongs to an individual.
Yes, and the chief's been talking about.
Okay.
That is correct. And they, as soon as it's decided whether we will be building on that site, then that also will be donated to the city.
So we bought that without road access?
We bought Daisy a Day.
Without road access?
Without road access?
No, we had access.
The way the plat shows, this individual owns a triangle. Like if you look at, how it almost makes a triangle going up there towards the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Daisy a Day is half the triangle.
Right.
And then the other half belongs to an individual up against North Market.
Right.
So it looks like the property that we bought for Daisy a Day is landlocked. I'll show you to you on Land Glide.
That's why I have my questions.
Because that's concerning
Attorney Edwards, yeah.
And that's why I'd like to see the appraisal on
Appraisal,
both of them too,
yes,
if we could.
exactly.
I have a question that's a little bit off.
The appraisal, the city does not get an appraisal for donation.
Y'all didn't do it? Okay,
We
do they
didn't
have
do it.
one?
Yes, they had one that they used, and we do that because it's their responsibility for their tax.
Right,
taxes. And so we let people give us, because we don't want to be at court saying we thought this is what the property was worth, or
Right.
we gave them this donation because so we let them give us whatever appraisal they want that they can then defend if they get called.
Because it's going to be there. I'm
But
talking,
I can give you the one they gave us.
what about Daisy a Day? Was there an appraisal done on the purchase?
Yes, when we purchase anything, we do an appraisal or phase one.
That's
There's
the
a
one
lot
I
of.
want to see.
You want to see the appraisal on Daisy for
Yes,
this?
yes, yes.
So,
Not on North Market.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
if you're going to send it, might as well
Yes,
send it.
Okay.
Send them both.
Shelley, I have a question. SPAR, you're over maintenance of all the city-owned buildings and
With
parks
Yes, sir, with the exception of anything that's water and sewer or airports.
And
sport track.
how, I'm a little bit confused. I'm just asking this as a citizen. How is SPAR, why is your role, I guess I'm asking, why is SPAR deciding a decision maker on where these substations go? Or
We
where-
are not a decision maker on where they go. So what happens, the chief decides, or somebody decides, they come to us to help them through that process of acquiring the property. I have no decision making and do not want any decision making on where they go. My job is simply to make sure that when we want to buy something, we get an appraisal, we do our, and I don't do that. I mean, there's so many people in the city with expertise, you know, that I depend on. You know, I don't, even in the environmental, that's Wes Weich. You know, whatever he says, that's what we listen to. But I don't want to, you know, rehash North Market, but for instance, on the North Market, you know, when the former CAO wanted to look at, said this is where we'd like to go, he and the chief, I said, there's a lot for us to look at. You know, we need to make sure a substation fits. We need to make sure that it's not going to cost us more to get it ready for a location than it, you know, we need to make sure the environmentals done. We go through this litany. It's not that, and I have no decision, I don't want any decision making on where they go. The only thing that, you know, I have said is at 1234 Texas, the long-term maintenance for someone, I won't be here when they, when it needs to be maintained. Somebody will be here. And I don't want anybody to get stuck with what we've been stuck with at 1234 Texas or at any other facility we have that's 50 years plus. But no decision-making. And like I said, the chief, the people that are experts at policing, they're the ones who need to decide the best place for them. Our job is just to help step through that process.
So when we rebuild 1234 Texas, do you think that maybe that building needs its own maintenance department outside of SPAR?
Well, I tell you what we're doing, and we're doing it in this building. We're doing it in a lot of places. We went to look at a building that wasn't owned by the city a few years ago, and we were very impressed by the upkeep. We were impressed by what their machine room looked like, things that nobody else cares about but us. And we said, how are y'all doing this? And they introduced us to a company called Camelot. And this building now is not being maintained by city employees, but by a contractor.
Yeah.
We had one for 1234 Texas that's at the courts building right now. Yes, I mean, the issue is maintenance is not the same as it was, and I don't want to get into a long discussion, but it's not the same as it was 20 years ago. You know, things are technical, things are intricate, you know, there's details and things. And because our pay scale isn't that other places are, it's hard for us to find highly technical trained because we don't pay enough. I mean, I just don't know that we ever can. And so, yes, there's all kinds of ways that we're now looking at how do we maintain better in the long term. But yes, that's what we believe will happen there when they go back, is there'll be a company who's assigned to maintain that building.
Okay, good.
We're not going to run out of things to do at SPAR. We just say if
what?
we're not maintaining those.
Just one last thing, Mr. Chairman, since we're on substations, just before we quit. You know, I'm looking and I'm very grateful that y'all have found these places, and I know it's been a lot of hard work on y'all and a lot of looking and trying to put a lot of pieces to a puzzle together, and I commend y'all for coming up with these. Having said that, there is a huge gap in Southeast Shreveport. I encourage you strongly. My citizens are watching what y'all are doing, and I encourage y'all strongly to find a spot for something in the Cedar Grove, Spring Lake, Piermont, University Terrace area. There are plenty of buildings out there. I don't think we need to build one, to be perfectly honest with you. I think we need to find something that's already there and get them moved down there, because I'm telling you, and we'll get into this in a minute, there is a total lack of trust in a lot of ways with the police department, and we need a presence down there in my area right now.
Thank you. Agreed. So we'll move forward. Thank you, Shelley. Agenda item B, SPD and cooperation with other law enforcement agencies. So I think we had touched on this. This is something that you were interested in, Councilman Butcher.
I think myself and Councilwoman Taylor were, yeah.
Yeah, and Councilwoman Bowman.
Yeah.
And Councilman Green. Yeah, we were all in support of the joint operation between the city and the sheriff. And given the example of what we have here on Ford Park with everything that is going on and officers being stretched really thin. So I think it's very commendable of the sheriff for wanting to do this, especially in those outskirts where in Southeast Shreveport, where you have that lack of presence. And so police officers don't have to drive all over, that you have that support system. I have the same thing still too in the North Market area as well. You can move you all in closer so you will be able to focus on those high areas, especially when you actually begin to see, you know, an increased traffic like on a Sunday afternoon that we're facing across definitely our districts for G, F, and A at this time. So it was very commendable at this point for the sheriff's office to say, hey, we're willing to come in here and do this, and then citizens will be able to see that joint cooperation, which is good, that we hope to help restore public trust in, you know, our first responders, because we definitely want that, since we know public safety is the priority. That's what I was thinking about mostly too when we had those incidents going on in Ford Park. So we actually want to get a status as to where we are with this.
Also, Chief, on the last meeting, I understood the mayor said that he was going to receive the recommendation from you, I believe, as to when we would do this, if we would do this. So have you all communicated as to your recommendation at this point?
We have, the sheriff and I are still.
No, I'm saying the mayor. I asked the mayor about what he thought about it. He said he was going to accept your recommendation. So I was asking if you and the mayor had got together as to agreeing as to we can get this operation going.
We have communicated, absolutely, and we're still trying to work out the final details, the logistics to make this happen. It's more than just saying do it to make something like this happen. There's the communications piece, there's the territorial piece, there's the records piece, because whatever either of us do have to be reported to the state and to the feds. There's a lot more logistically to take place than just say, tomorrow you take this territory and let's do it. But we're working all that out. It's
So
a
will it
lot
be
more
like-
for me to talk about than you would probably be interested in hearing, but we are working to make it happen.
So will it be like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
Oh, I would say yes, within 30 days, we'll have everything worked out. Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
I thought logistically you guys had already worked all of that out. And what I gathered from the last discussion, it was just the mayor's recommendation that you would have in order to move forward on this. We have this shortage, and I was under, maybe I misunderstood, but I was under the understanding that at this point, those things were worked out and that you all were ready to go, and the sheriff was ready to do what he needed to do.
Yes.
And SPD was ready in that end. So I'm confused at the point as to what happened.
No, you were right. The more we look, you're exactly right in what your thinking was. It's just like most things, the more you look at it, each time you look at it, you see a little bit something different that maybe you didn't pick up on the other time. But I assure you, within the next few weeks, or 30 days at the most, all this is going to be worked out and behind us. We'll be engaged in our mission, and we'll be making things happen.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Chief, has anybody talked to Chief Reese? We have in 2009, we came up with an automatic mutual aid agreement for Southeast Shreveport. It takes care of the communications aspect of it, the 911 aspect of it, the reporting aspect of it. All those different things that you just named has already been addressed. I think it took us, it was when Chief Crawford was a chief, it took us about 2 months to come up with the automatic aid agreement and put it in place to where it works. Now, is it perfect right now? Chief Reese, not perfect, but at least the citizens are getting some results from it. I go back to what you and I talked about 2 weeks ago now, where I've had 2 instances in Southeast Shreveport off of North Ferry Road where people have called 911 and have been told that there's nobody to send. That is a huge problem.
Correct.
And even if it's not true, I would like to hear the tape. I sent you the times. I think I sent Mr. Dark and the chief the tape of when the original call came in on October the 6th, where the guy had a gun in the Brookshire's parking lot. They called 911, and the dispatcher said, we don't have anybody to send. It's what we're being told. Now, if that's the truth, fine, but I can tell you this, there were probably 10,000 views in Southeast Shreveport on social media about that. We had another incident in Southern Trace where you and I talked at length about that. The Homeowners Association president sent emails, never was returned. There is a huge lack of, I don't care how much Facebook and social media we do to promote the police department, there is a gap down there. And it's only going to be natural because the crime is happening up here.
Correct.
I mean, it's not your fault. But if the sheriff is willing to do this, and I have had a conversation with the sheriff, if he is willing to do this, and my district is the one that's suffering mainly with 15, 20, 30-minute response times, and even, because I can tell you one thing, if it was my daughter that was in the parking lot at Brookshire's and somebody pulled a gun on her, and y'all said that y'all didn't have anybody to send, I'd be very upset. I'm upset about this period, but it could have been a lot worse. And I don't understand how a communications officer could say that. And I'm only saying this now because I asked for the tape 2 weeks ago, and I've not heard a word from any of y'all on it. I asked Mr. Dark on Thursday about it. He said the chief is looking into it. I have constituents that I have to answer to. And I'm going to be honest, they're fed up. You know, the first comment out of the Southern Trace Property Owners Association president, whenever I scheduled a meeting and nobody would even respond, is tell the mayor to remember we voted for his bond, but we're not doing it again. So we have a real issue that we need to take care of down there. And if this with the sheriff helps us, please do it, because somebody's going to end up getting killed or hurt while we wait, because y'all have got officers taking care of a shoplifter at Walmart, and we're waiting for somebody to come from up at Centenary or something like that. It's a real issue, and it fires me up, and I'm sorry, but I've been begging and asking, and it seems like every time I ask, nothing gets done. So if there is a possibility, if the sheriff is willing to do this, and he did not say that he was to me, he said that he was working with y'all and open. If there is a possibility for that openness, let's do it. Let's take pride or whatever else that's going on here out of it, and let's do it, at least in the short time. So, thank you.
It's going to happen. I'm sorry that your constituents feel the way they're feeling. I did, in fact, as I communicated with you, my people at Communications searched the 911 tapes back as far as practical to find, and we did not find a call that came in from the store that you mentioned.
No, it was I sent you a number. I sent you a screenshot of the gentleman. He sent it to me. It was 911 from his cell phone. With his cell phone number, it listed the time, and he was on the phone with the dispatcher for 1.5 minutes. So it was October the 6th at like 1:30.
I know.
And so there was no 911, maybe not from the store.
I know.
But was there one from that number at all?
I know what you're saying. We found the call from the gentleman that left the location and called us when he got to his home.
Wasn't that a couple of days later, though?
I believe it's the same day.
Okay. Well,
Not at the store, at his home once he got home.
well, supposedly there was a call that was made from the store.
He called at 1846 or 47, I don't know exactly when it was, and an officer was dispatched 1 minute later, and an officer arrived at his location, I think 13 or 14 minutes later.
So I sent you a text message,
Yes, sir.
and this call was made at 1:15, roughly. Let me pull it up again.
But we'll look further, but that's what was reported to me, that only one that they were able to find, and an officer was dispatched 1 minute later when the call came through.
If you'll check your text message on October the 5th at 1:38 p.m., someone called 911, and I've got a copy of the call from them. They were on the phone for 3 minutes with 911. The gentleman went home later and called y'all, and that's when the report was made.
Okay, that's the only one we found that.
But if you could go back and look at October the 5th, 2024, at 1:38, there was a cell phone call made saying a man had a gun in the parking lot of Brooksers on Norris Ferry Road. And that was when they said that there was nobody to send.
Okay.
Chief, I can, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief, I could tell you why this mutual aid agreement is so important to me. Because we want to provide you all with as much support
Yes,
as
ma'am.
possible. That's very, very important to us. When I had the call, when I made the complaint about what was going on in the park, you all had another domestic situation that was going on. That was hot and heavy, that pulled officers to that, and a number of other things. So which meant it took approximately 20 to 25 minutes for an officer to get to the Ford Park location. When I spoke to Mr. Mazzone, I got a lesson on how the board works when a call is made and then an officer is not available. And then when an officer is able to respond to the call, then whatever time that call originated, then post to the 911 data system.
Right.
In the interim, there were calls made to the sheriff's office, and thank God for Deputy Chief White. So a sheriff came out to the park before the SPD officer arrived there, because then we needed someone else because of what was going on in the park. So this is our urgency with that if our officers are tied up and then they don't have enough, this is why it is so urgent for us to have this mutual aid agreement, because we now have a department that's willing, and then you all are not scrambling at the bit, or that dispatch center is not scrambling at the bit to try to get to wherever it is, that because every call at that point, that whoever is calling into 911, their call is important. And so you're looking for an officer. I'm sitting there and it's not a gun on my person, that I can understand that urgency there. I'm sitting there watching smoke and people, drag racing up and down the street. Sure. And I can't chase them, although I want to. I'm in my car, my motor can go.
Please don't do it.
I understand that, but that's what I felt like. Yeah. But again, when I saw the sheriff come in, that gave me a level of relief, because they pulled up. It was then after that fact of then SPD came in, but then we needed more officers. And that's what we're saying as it relates to this agreement and why there's a level of urgency there. At the same time, when I was on the board, then District G had loud music, careless and reckless, that was going on in their area. District F had the same thing, that if we would have then had that level of support, because you have more of those officers, as I understand, in the Pines Row, in the Cross Lake area, more sheriffs and everything in that particular region. So the question becomes for us, not from you, if the administration is even in support of this mutual aid agreement. Because for us, it's a matter of life and death.
Mr. Chairman, I can address that. Yes, we're in support of it. There are some issues with some of the language that I want to go over with individual members of the council so that you're aware what it's going to say, so that you'll be prepared to respond to your constituents. And I am in the process of trying to set up those times to go over those with you so that you will understand before it's a done deal.
Good. You know how soon that's going to be?
I received a draft yesterday, and I am planning to meet with y'all as soon as I can set up those meetings.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say on my part, whatever y'all, however language y'all got, I'm satisfied. I trust y'all. I just, and for the sake of Councilmember Butcher and all the rest of us, I'm in support of however y'all put the language. As long as we got some police officers, sheriff department, I'm number one. I'm on board.
I'll take the call. I'd rather take calls about them mad that they're paying for, because I've already heard it. They're mad that they're paying city taxes and they're not getting the services they need. But I would rather take those calls as opposed to somebody calling me saying they had a gun pulled on them and the police didn't come.
Yeah, those are the kinds of discussions
Look, do whatever y'all need to do, and I'll take it.
That's where I am. Whatever language in there, I'm good. I don't have to.
Councilwoman Bowen.
Chief, thank you. Good evening. I was a little late. I had an audit and finance meeting. I wanted to ask you on Friday night, early Saturday morning, did you have hear about anything on Pines and Buncombe Road?
No, ma'am, I did not. I can research it and see.
Okay.
I will.
I didn't
Pines
see,
and Buncombe?
yes, sir. I didn't see anything on the 911 deal. We didn't receive any correspondence till our council emails. But I got a lot of phone calls early Saturday morning saying that there was a lot of shooting there. If you look on the Ring doorbell, people said it was like cannons. Something happened on Pines and 7th that didn't get recorded. We heard policemen. Nothing ever came through 911. Nothing ever, so something happened, but that was not dispatched.
Be happy to research that for you and get back with you.
Thank you, sir.
Friday night?
Yes, probably about 12:28 Saturday
Gotcha.
morning, early Saturday.
We'll find it, yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Chief, and again, I'd like to say I appreciate all that you are doing, all that you've done. It's just that when people cry to us, cry to me, then you the police. I have to tell you, my grandmama believed the police could do anything. So I got that same mindset, and I believe in y'all, and I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you, and I know that this operation is going to be great. So thank you, Chief.
Absolutely, and it's,
If y'all get that Bearcat, y'all could catch them little scooters.
Bearcat.
It is in the process of being built.
You talking about the Hellcat?
The Hellcat, I'm sorry.
I tried to get you like 4 or 5 of them.
If y'all get that Hellcat, y'all could catch them scooters.
We can catch them little pocket rockets with the
Bearcat,
Hellcat.
Hellcat, any cat. Yeah, I mean the Hellcat, Chief.
Thank you.
Y'all catch them scooters.
I can show you the legislation.
Because we got notice
Yeah,
that
we tried to
finally,
get you there. Tried to get you there. But
Our
anyway.
Bearcat, we did get notice that finally we have made it up into the rotation with the military and is expected to take delivery sometime in November. So thank y'all so much.
It might be them
for that
calling
gift.
now.
Chief, what's the fastest vehicle you all can have as a police officer?
Our police pursuit vehicles, they call PPVs, they are supposed to be the same pretty much as the most high-performance civilian version. So anyway, the charges that y'all graciously bought us would compare to the civilian version of the SRT-8. Now, when you get to go into the Hellcat and the Demon and all of those.
They got a Demon?
Yes, ma'am, they got one called a Demon that is faster than the Hellcat.
What kind of motorcycles y'all got?
Is it in, hold on,
Oh,
I'm
I'm
trying
sorry.
to find out how to get this Demon. Is it a police version of a demon, or is this the street version?
It's a civilian version. They
What's-
would probably make only a few because only a few people could afford them.
What's the police version of, so the Chargers that we have in our fleet
Yes.
are our high-end performance vehicles?
That is correct. You could go beyond, in the Chevrolet line, you would go beyond that to a Camaro, SS, PPV, and in Ford, you would go to a Mustang.
Do we
I
have
believe.
any more of those that we look to purchase?
I don't know. All ours are still going, the ones that.
I already know what we got.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see what we adding to. I know what we have. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, with these chases that you all have, I'm not looking for cars with V6 engines, especially when I have a V8. I'm looking at your fleet. Your
Yes.
fleet is increasingly important to me. Y'all know what it is.
Yes,
Y'all was rolling up in Ford Fusions.
Yeah.
Unacceptable
Yeah.
to me. So I'm looking at your fleet and what you need in order for you to effectively be able to do your job. That's extremely important to me. That when you all roll up, I don't need for them to look on the side and say, "Oh, okay, then you in this Ford Focus while I'm in this Demon." You know, I'm trying to see what's in your fleet already and what is it that we need to add to that fleet.
I can tell you this, the Ford Explorers that you see, we have the black one, they're the PPV version, and they will exceed the average car that somebody buys from red light to red light, from block to block. On the top end, and that could be a different case.
So on the Chargers,
Yes, Yes.
high speed,
yes, that's a different animal.
that's a different animal.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the animal you need. That's the animal you need?
Yes, ma'am, they
Okay,
good
yeah, don't
animals.
look over there,
Yeah,
because I'm talking to you right here.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I need to know the animal you need in
That-
order
that's-
for you to do your job.
they're very good. We just don't get the longevity out of them that you do the
Yeah.
others.
I want to know what's the latest version of what they have in police vehicles that you
We
can
will
get
talk.
to me that has the power that you need in order for you to do your job.
This week was the IACP convention in Boston. I would have had the opportunity to see the latest and greatest everything in police work, but I chose to be here with y'all because that's where I
Well,
really
Chief,
wanted to be.
let me ask you this. When was the last time you all bought a motorcycle? I see y'all still have those old motorcycles. Have
We
y'all
got-
bought any recently?
We got some black ones. When was the last time we got? 3 years ago.
2 years ago.
It's been
yeah,
2
we bought
years
motorcycles.
ago. We got two.
Are
And,
they,
uh,
I mean, what kind of speed they have?
A Harley Davidson. It is not like a foreign version, but they good. They really good. We're in line to get a couple more with our next vehicle package.
Since we're talking about speed and motorcycles, I was on Uri Drive the other night. It was a Friday night, and those motorcycles, those guys riding those motorcycles, I was like right around Uri Drive Middle School.
Yes, yes.
I won't tell you I was at the Andy's Custard, but I was. And anyway, they were doing about, I would say, 75, 80 miles an hour, weaving in and out of traffic. And then I noticed last week one of them hit a car down there and killed the guy.
That is correct.
Do we have anything we can do, especially like on Uri Drive and Burt Coons, to kind of maybe do some operations on weekend nights to kind of try to slow them down? Or I know it's real hard to catch them because I mean they were, it was like 5 of them that went by and they were popping wheelies, and I mean this is like 8 o'clock on a Friday evening.
Yeah.
They don't have nothing to catch.
We can put together some operation. We can do that.
Because I think
Just
that's
about
becoming a real
anytime.
problem, isn't it? Because
No, I don't hear much on Uri Drive.
We
south.
already addressed all that.
I was tending to other business at the time.
That's okay.
But anyway,
I think what the chief said earlier, and I know y'all are wanting faster vehicles, is the pursuit of these scooters and motor is probably not a good idea. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not talking about their pursuits for those. I'm talking about their other pursuits when they're behind cars. I'm not talking about motorcycles.
But don't we have a policy that officers only supposed to go X X miles per hour over the posted speed limit, even in a pursuit?
You should drive safely in all conditions and take everything in consideration. That's probably more of the appropriate way to interpret the policy.
Okay.
The general public safety is a lot more important than chasing a criminal, if that kind of makes
Well,
sense.
y'all are not gonna make it with no V6 engines. I'm sorry. Y'all gonna have to have police fleet. That's the business that y'all in, seriously. You're gonna have to have a line of cars that work. All
Yeah.
this 2C cars and numbed up engines is not gonna cut it. If they outrunning us on a little illegal three-wheeler, we got a problem.
Well, where we have the advantage, no matter how fast a perpetrator's car is for one, there's more of us than that one.
Right.
And the speed of that radio is 886,000 feet per second, and a car can't go that fast. So we can communicate with everybody around.
But
to
thank
get
God for
more
license
assistance.
plate readers.
Yeah.
But
We
they don't
got
have
those.
readers.
Y'all need to
We
buy a
got
couple
those.
of motor scooters, them fast scooters.
They need to get an ATV.
We could just impound them and just start using them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
y'all
Thanks,
for
Chief.
everything.
I think, are we good?
Yeah.
Am I good? Okay, I think we're adjourned. Thank you.
Let's see if we can do some prototypes of these.
You wanna go back there? You wanna do it here? Okay.
This is my cold weather. This is my cold weather. You gotta switch to your cold weather. You gotta switch to your, yeah, see, that might be a little thin too. But you know, it did transition today. It did transition today. It started cold and then it got hot. I'm doing good. How are you?
Good.
They told me to come look for you. They said go down there and help him park his car. He can't figure out how to park his car.
Oh, when I was running late?
You were running late. Yeah. Moved it back up, yeah. Because then I had to move the risk management committee. Yep, clearly.
Just FYI.